Actually. Oh. Oh, no.
Do that again.
Okay.
It's fine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wed Chat Live. And it was really slick at the beginning there.
It was really slick. I just forgot the unmute button.
The unmute button is a very important button.
It is important.
It's okay.
I will remember that.
Teething issues, it's fine. We're actually joined by not just Pat this evening, but we're joined by my wife, Laura.
Hello.
Okay, Laura's going to be monitoring your comments this evening, so if you've got anything interesting that you want to contribute, then we would love to hear from you. So this is another edition of Wed Chat Live. Should we get Pat in so Pat can say hello as well? So it's myself and my good friend Pat Mulligan, who is with us now. Is he with us now?
He's with us now.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Laura.
Hi, Pat.
Can I mention the shirt? Hi.
We're mentioning the show. You don't have to mention the shirt.
Yeah, I think we do need to mention the shirt. The shirt is an absolute thing of beauty.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to plug where you got it from?
I got it from my tailors in Skipton.
Oh, wow.
I just can't think what they're called. Isn't that awful? But yeah, I got it from my tailors.
Pat, I'm impressed enough that you've gone to a tailor's. That sounds really good.
I do go to a tailor. Should I take Steve with me next time?
I think you should, yeah.
As long as the tailors is Primark, I'm in.
Oh, no.
So what we're talking about tonight, we are talking about one of the major wedding worries that's out there, and that is what happens if my dance floor is not full. That is a real major worry for many people who are planning their wedding. The last thing that you want is for your evening to fizzle out. Now, I should say before we begin, and we're going to be talking about this, we're going to be giving tips and what have you, but before we begin, this isn't necessarily for everybody, is it, Pat? Because some people don't necessarily want a full dance floor.
Exactly that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, is there? I mean, if you want your night to be a chilled out affair where it just kind of like there's music playing and people are talking and chatting and drinking, that's great too. But for some people, getting a full dance floor and having that big party, that's a big thing for them.
Yes, and I've done my fair share of weddings where things finish at 10 o'clock, and that's actually deliberately planned. So this is really for people who are worried about not having a full dance floor. But some of the principles that we're going to talk about, they go right across all. They go right across all types of weddings, whether you want something to be chilled out or something to be a little bit more manic and wild, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, there's a lot you can do. And I think that's more what we're about tonight, isn't it? Give me some key pointers for your entertainer or whoever it is that's working with you with your music to help them, to help you to get yourself on track.
Absolutely. So we're going to go through these point by point. And if you've got anything that you want to contribute as well, we'd love to hear your comments. If you want to get notifications when we go live, then just type the word live in the comments below, and we will send you a message giving you the option to get messages through Facebook Messenger when we go live. So, hey, Alex, good to see you. Thank you very much for watching. So we're going to start.
Alex.
We're going to start off with our first point, and the first point we probably say, Pat, is actually to just plan the evening, because a lot of people believe that the DJ will come. They'll start around about 7:30. The band will come, whatever it is that you've booked for the evening. They'll start around 7:30, and then they'll finish at 12. And what they think of those 5 hours as kind of like a blank canvas, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
I think it used to be, and I think that's probably quite fair. So I think DJs in the past were quite cliched that they had a selection. And if you think about the technology involved, DJs, when I started in 1988, I started with vinyl, and you're only as good as the collection of records you had. And you might have 200-300 records. So if somebody said to you, oh, can you play so-and-so? You go, maybe don't have that particular one. How about this one instead? And there was a bit of trade-off going on there. Now, obviously, we're in a world where you can have pretty much anything immediately at your fingertips. So you can be more discerning, and it's far easier for an entertainer to deliver exactly what you want. But it really starts at the planning process. It starts right back at the beginning. And it starts with the question I always ask my brides is, what songs remind you of each other and your relationship with your friends and your close family. So rather than thinking of, oh, my mum likes the 70s, what song reminds you of your mum? When you've had a big family night out, And it might be something cheesy. It's not a problem that it's something cheesy. It's just, it's something congruent. It reminds you of your mum. When you hear that song, it reminds you of that great night dancing with your mum or your dad, or it might remind you of your uncle, or whoever. And if you can build a night on those sort of building blocks, it'll always give you a great head start, because people go, oh, this is that song. And it reminds them of you and you of them.
Yeah, superb. So that's one of the things that we can talk about in terms of planning the evening from a music perspective, but there's also structure to a wedding evening as well, isn't there? Because as I mentioned earlier, you've got this sort of like blank canvas in people's minds where it's 7 until 12. But what actually happens on an evening, because it's not just 5 hours straight, is it? It's actually quite well broken down.
Yeah, it is quite broken down. So in terms of a standard wedding, and I think this is the question you're asking, so stop me if it isn't the question you're asking. You don't want to start too early. So there's no point in once your DJ's set up and your room's been turned around, I always start with some background music. So have some nice music that's in keeping with the people that are there, but at a talking level, so that people can come in, interact with each other, and you can sort of meet and welcome your guests. Beyond that, you've got your cake cut. Often, sometimes, if you've got a wedding host, sometimes we might finish a wedding breakfast and cut the cake. Other people might do that too in different ways. Yeah. But on the assumption you haven't done that, we'll cut the cake and then go into your first dance, or maybe a father and daughter dance. So there's two separate breakdowns there. Your first dance, first of all, you might want to introduce other people into that. Then your father-daughter dance, if that's a dance for, as it were, the bride and the father. Or if the father's no longer with us, maybe another special key relative, or it could be, other fathers and daughters come and join you, and so on and so forth. And then you've got your evening food, and that's another area where you might want to stop the music, or not stop it necessarily, but go to background level again, and allow people to enjoy it.
Yeah, get things a little bit quieter. So what you're talking about here is evening food is usually served between 8:30 and 9 o'clock on an evening. So before that time, there's actually a fair bit of structure where you're greeting people, and then you've got the first dance. People might dance for a little while, and then the whole thing kind of will break off for people to have their evening food. So there straight away, that'll take you up to 9 o'clock. There straight away, you've got like 2 hours covered. And then you've got so what kind of thing would happen after that? You've got a full dance floor at that point, haven't you? After people have eaten.
Well, not necessarily, and again, this comes back to what you were saying before about things you can do. So should we introduce the first pointer on this? So the first pointer on this, and I call this the Bagpuss effect. If you remember Bagpuss from the 70s. I do. When Bagpuss went to sleep, all his friends went to sleep too. And it's very, very true of your bride and groom. A guy I used to work with used to call it the celebrity of bride and groom. And it's very, very true that everyone gravitates towards your bride and groom. And they can be pulling you off to the bar or outside. You've nipped out to get some fresh air, and all of a sudden you're talking to a distant relative you've not spoken to for ages. 40 minutes later, you're still chatting to them, and the dance floor's completely dead. So my first big tip is make sure you and your partner stay on or around the dance floor, because that's really, really key to being the central point then in your wedding. We're going to
expand on that point a little bit later. And so the structure of an evening can be as much as kind of 7:30. You're going to have your first dance. People might dance for a little bit, and then things will die down a little bit while you have your food, and then things might pick up a little bit more. And then by 10 o'clock, the people who have just kind of visited, popped in, maybe the older folk, they might go, and then you've got 2 hours of kind of like pure dance music. But your entertainment knows that kind of thing, don't they? They know the structure of how an evening works, so they can plan for that sort of thing.
Well, that's the first thing is, of course, tell them. Make sure your entertainment is your entertainment. Make sure it's congruent to who you are. If you went out clubbing and you went to Ibiza and you went to a nightclub 3 nights a week, and you went to university in A Town and all your friends went out, then make sure your DJ knows it, and make sure that's how you plan your entertainment. Make sure your band knows it. Again, it comes back to this thing of having entertainment that fits with you and what you do and what you believe in. And yes, in that way, then they will know what they're doing. They can look at the dance floor and read it and go, right, they're ready for this. But if they don't know what this is, so it could be that, and I'm sure you've been to these weddings as well, where the DJ's thinking, right, let's get the party started. I'm going to crack open the cha-cha slide. And we're going to go from the cha-cha slide, and we might go for a bit of YMCA.
8 o'clock.
That's great if that's your idea of a party. If that's your idea of a big night out, that's brilliant. There's not a problem there. But if it isn't your idea of a big party night out, then break it back down again. What is your idea of a great song? What is your idea of a floor filler? Where did you go?
Yeah, superb. Laura, who have we got watching? Have we got many people in the comments section there? We've got Andrea. We've never seen Andrea before.
Yeah, now I displayed Andrea's comment, but then I thought, actually, I don't know if she's saying, me, I'm agreeing with you, or me, I've got a question.
Maybe she's just waving.
Or she might just be waving.
Andrea
Pilling?
Andrea Pilling. Andrea Pilling, do you have a question?
I'm hosting Andrea's wedding later this year.
Oh,
Fabulous.
right.
Andrea, do you have a question? If you're still watching, we want to hear your thoughts and feelings about this kind of thing and any questions that you have. So please do put them in the comments. And if you think this is something valuable, then please give it a share as well. Let's come on to our second point here. So the second tip we would give is this. Ask about sound limiters. Now, we did a whole session before Wed Chat came kind of live and what have you, and we did it properly. We did a whole session about sound limiters. Andrea says, hi, I'm waving, so she's watching. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
It's great to see you. So the second thing is, let's talk about sound limiters. And we're not going to labour this point. We do have a previous video on this. And it's not necessarily about sound limiters. It's asking about sound limitations, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just making sure that if you want that big party, is that right? Is that going to happen in the venue you've picked?
Yeah.
Without naming the venue, I know that you have a venue you work with quite closely or have done in the past where a DJ isn't necessarily even welcome.
Yes.
It's not the right type of entertainment for them. Yeah. And certainly a 6 or 7 piece band is never where you.
No, it's never going to work, is it? And that's really key, is to ask that question of your venue, isn't it? To go to your venue and to say to them, what are your limitations when it comes to music? Now, that might be we don't allow 7-piece bands, but it might be we have a physical sound limiter. Now, we're not going to go into the technicalities of what a limiter is. We can put that link in the comments afterwards so people can have a look at that. But you can ask those questions and ask them of your venue so that you know what kind of entertainment that you're looking for, right?
Absolutely. And let's not forget that if you do want a big night, right, that actually that might be quite a severe point against a venue that isn't set up for that. Yep. And it's not that it's a bad venue, it's just not the right fit for you. There are hundreds of venues and there are thousands of great venues. Just that one might be the point that just lets the venue down for you as an individual. Or it could be that you can tailor your entertainment down and your expectations down. Something to mention at this point, I didn't mention it when we did our limiter bit, is the silent disco. And the silent disco is another way around this. A silent disco is where you hire headphones and the DJ broadcasts on multiple channels. You have 3 channels. The DJ has a channel. In my specific example, I had a guest who was about 10 years old, and he was DJing on another channel. I set him up with a separate setup.
Love it.
And then I had a mix playing on another channel. And you'd think, oh, well, Pat, you must have smashed that. And because you can see who's listening to what. You've got green, red, and blue dots, LEDs on their ears.
Yeah.
So you can see who's listening to what. There was a couple of times the young lad smashed it. He was giving it YMCA at one point, and all the arms shot up in the air. And I'm thinking, right, I'm gonna have to compete with this kid. So there's another way around it. That particular venue we mentioned before the limited was Eves Hall, and they wanted to go a bit later, and there was no way they could have gone later with amplified sound.
Yeah.
But when they didn't have that, they had the silent disco. It was easily accommodated, and it worked really, really well. And it's just something to consider. If your venue is like, we must have the venue, and we really want this, maybe that's another way around it.
Yeah, have we got anybody in the comments making some good points about this, Laura?
Yeah, we've got a really lovely comment from Alex Lacey.
Yep.
Who says, this is brilliant for clients, potential clients. It's so important for us as suppliers to work cohesively together to structure an evening effectively, and that's true, isn't it?
Absolutely true. Yeah, Alex is the drummer for an award-winning band called the Funtime Frankies, and
Oh, hi, Alex. I did not recognise you from your little picture.
I
Sorry.
knew you were going to do it. I knew.
Hi, Alex.
I knew you
I
were
really
going to do
like
that.
Alex.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, Alex is absolutely right. This is really a good point. Working cohesively together to structure an evening effectively, so that there are no surprises, and so that you can just relax and kind of leave it to the entertainment. Anything else anybody said here, Laura? We've got Andrea in the comments here as well.
Oh, yeah, I'll just put Andrea's comments up
So
as well.
what's she saying here?
She says, this is really good, guys. Thank you. I'm working alongside DJs whilst hosting children's entertainment at weddings at the mall, so it's all really useful.
Excellent. Well, we're really, really glad to help. So that was the second point, which is just ask about limitations in the venue, because there might be limitations, there might not be. For example, Pat, I went to a venue, I rang a venue on behalf of a client the other day, and they wanted music during the room turnaround, and I said, look, it's July when your wedding is. If the weather's going to be really nice, let's not fight the weather. Let's, because British people, we go outside at any given moment. Anytime we see sun, we get the tops off and the barbecue's out and we're outside. So I said, let's not fight the weather. If I arrive and the venue are happy for me to be outside, let's do the evening outside, because on the 31st of July, it's not going to get dark until about 10 o'clock. And there's no point in me standing next to on a dance floor playing to virtually nobody. So I rang the venue and I said, do you have any limitations outside? They said, we have neighbours, but as long as it's not ridiculous, you can work outside. So ask those questions. They're really important. So our third point here is something that you've already touched on. And this is where's the bar? Okay. Now I don't mean the bar as in standard. I'm talking about the bar as in where are all of the drinks. Now, why, Pat, is it so important to know where the bar is located in the venue when it comes to having a packed dance floor?
Oh, it's so important. It's so, so, so very, very important. And if I've done your wedding and you've been in a venue where the bar's been separate, I can assure you this, it was definitely tougher than it would have been in a room where the bar was directly opposite.
Yeah.
Because it just is. And what you have there is then straight after your first dance, people disappear to the bar. And if they get involved in a conversation, they may or may not come back. And it depends how far away the bar is. There's a venue I used to work in across near Chester. And the bar is from the actual room where the function is. You go up a corridor, you go up the stairs, you turn right, then you turn left, then you go across a corridor, and then you go into the bar. And the bar commonly is playing different music to what you're playing back in the main room.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare as a wedding professional. That sounds like a nightmare.
From our perspective, it's an anxiety builder. From a bride and groom's perspective, it's not necessarily a problem, because if they're through there, they're enjoying what's going on through there, that's fine. But what you do find then is you've got 2 or 3 different parties going on. The same venue had a different room for the photo booth. So if you had a photo booth, that would be in a different room and a different space. What I'd say to you is try and get it all together. Just try and get your party in one room if you can. And it is a tip. Ask the venue, is it possible to have a pop-up bar?
Yeah.
Is it possible to have bottles on the tables? It might seem like a huge extra expense, but if a big party is what you're about, a few extra bottles of Peroni on the tables isn't going to go amiss for sure if the bar is a distance away. But the venue probably know that they don't have a bar in the room.
Yeah.
People have probably told them. So if that's the case, it's worth saying to them, look, is there a chance? Can we put a pop-up bar in? Is there maybe another thing you can put into that space? Could you maybe have a cocktail bar put in? Is there anything they can do to work with you to make that your thing? Now, it's never a deal breaker. Of course it's not. There are these are venues we're talking about, these are successful wedding venues. It's never a deal breaker. It's not going to ruin your night. But if we're talking about wins and building the chances of a better night, it's always a better start to have your bar reasonably close to your dance floor. For
I
sure.
completely agree. I mean, I can't tell you how many times it's been more difficult for me as an entertainer to build a dance floor and make it work if the bar is in a completely different room, especially when the couple are saying to me, we really want a packed dance floor. You have to kind of like, you have to speak to each other and help and help a couple to realize realize sometimes that might be a little bit more difficult if the bar is elsewhere. So ask that question: if you want a really packed dance floor, where is the bar, and is there a chance? Is it if it's way down another corridor, up a flight of stairs, through an elevator, and into another building? Then is there a chance we can have a bar a little bit closer, because that's where people flock to, because they're there to drink on the evening. Hello, Donna. Good to see you. Hello to everybody watching. If you think this is valuable stuff, please make sure that you give it a share for us. Share it around, and we're already on point 4. Oh my goodness! How long have we been online here, Laura? How long have we been online?
23 minutes.
23 minutes.
59 seconds.
I reckon we've been online for 22 minutes nearly, Steve.
Do you reckon 22 minutes? It's pretty good, isn't it? Hi, Donna. Good to see you. I've already said hello to Donna, haven't I?
You
Goodness
have.
me.
Hello, Donna.
Shall I recap the 4 points, Steve?
We've got, so the points we've got so far are, go.
Make sure you and your partner stay on the dance floor.
Hang on.
Point 2.
Hang on a minute. We've got plan the evening is point number 1. Plan the evening is point.
Okay. Let's have on your thing.
Do you want me to summarise the points? Because I've got them in front of me.
Plan the evening.
You can't even see me.
Point 2. Ask about sound limits.
Yes.
Point 3. Where's the bar? And finally, point 4. Guests will be where you are. Bagpuss.
And that's the point that you made earlier, isn't it? So I say this to brides. One of the biggest tips I give them all the time is, if you want people to be on the dance floor, you be on the dance floor. What were you saying about the celebrity factor, Pat?
The celebrity factor is that people go where the bride and groom are. They follow you, and it's probably not something. I mean, I'm used to it in real life. I sign autographs in Morrison's.
Oh, of course you do. But too right.
And as for the wedding singer Stephen Heath, I mean, it's artist status. So it's difficult for us to sort of cross the road and not be recognised.
Oh, behave.
But most people don't necessarily have that level of celebrity in their day-to-day life, and we don't. Just to be clear, so it is something to think.
You
about.
don't. You speak for yourself, mate.
Well, you've bought dinner for all these people, and we're very British about these sorts of things. We can't just go up and go, "Thanks for dinner." We've got to have a full conversation. And if you've got 100 guests and each one of them takes 5 minutes to discuss it, it's a big pull. It's a big pull away from your dance. It's a big pull away from you enjoying your night.
Just go and dance. I mean, I've seen some brides knock onto that dance floor and not leave it the whole time. And it might not be like the consistent same people on the dance floor, but there's a flock of people coming in. Some people leave, they come back. Stay on that dance floor. I had a bride, I remember, in Cheshire a little while ago, and Laura came with me to this wedding, and I'm telling you, she had some of the best dancers ever. But
oh my goodness, she was amazing. And the dancers, I'd have paid to watch them. I seriously would have.
They were absolutely incredible, and the dance floor was just packed all night as a result of her just giving it large on the dance floor. She said, "No, it's my wedding. I want to dance. If people want to speak to me, they can come and speak to me." And she just got on there, and people followed her. If you've got any questions for us, we're going to be wrapping up very soon, but we'd love to hear your questions. We'd love to bring you into the broadcast. You don't have to come on camera. Don't worry, we don't have the facilities to do that. So, Marie. Get Marie's comment.
To do it ourselves, let's be honest.
I was just going to wait to do Marie's comment.
What's Marie saying? What is Marie saying?
Marie's saying, "I'm loving the shirt, Pat."
Thank you, Marie. I'm wearing it for your wedding.
I definitely think you should wear it for Marie's
wedding.
wedding.
I think it should be a trademark, Pat.
Well, I can't quite. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't see it brilliantly from here. But what are you rocking? Are you rocking some kind of flowers on that shirt?
I'm thinking either flamingos or floral.
It's floral. It's just floral.
I really wanted it to be flamingos.
It's not flamingos.
Everyone needs a floral shirt in their wardrobe.
Do you know what? I might get one as well, and I might get a matching one.
I might get you one.
I'll get you a
Actually-
hat. I'll get you a hat. You can grow a beard. Donna says I'm like the Happy Feet penguin. Is that you on the dance floor, Donna? Is that what she's like on the dance floor? The Happy Feet penguin? Because listen, Donna, if that's the way you're going to be, everybody's going to flock to the dance floor as well. It's going to be a great night. So let's go through and let's summarise these points one more time. So I need to find the points first before I can summarise them.
I have them now. I have them now in front of me.
Have you got them in front of you now, Pat? So
in front of me now.
I'll do number 1,
Plan.
you do number 2, I'll do number 3, you do number 4. Number 1, make sure you plan the evening with your entertainments.
Do that. Point number 2, ask about sound limits.
Point number 3, ask where the bar is. Find out where it's going to be, because wherever it is, people are going to flock there and try and get it in the same room as the dance floor.
And finally, point number 4, guests will be where you are.
Absolutely, they will. There's 4 points for a packed dance floor. I think we're just about out. Remember to join us for Wed Sounds Live on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Next Thursday is going to be another Wed Chat Live with myself and Pat Mulligan, and we're looking forward to seeing you then. So, Pat, have you got any final words of wisdom that you want to give people before we end this broadcast?
My final words of wisdom is make sure whatever entertainment you have, you sit down with your entertainer and go through what you want for your night. Try and get as much of your music that you have you have experience of with your guests, and make sure that person, whether it's a DJ, whether it's a band, whether it's a singer, they get what you do and what you want in your night, and that they can deliver it. And nobody wants to do a night, just so we all know, nobody wants to do a night that they can't do. It's awful. It feels dreadful. Nobody wants to be in that place. So make sure you find the entertainer for you, that's right for you, that's right for your crowd, and have an amazing wedding.
Listen, thank you very much for everybody who's watched. We've got Wed Sounds Live at 8 o'clock on Sunday. That's going to be the request show. Thank you very much, everybody, for contributing. It's goodbye from Pat.
Goodbye, Stephen.
Goodbye from Laura.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from me until next week. Cheers. Thanks very much. Bye-bye
Bye now.
Bye.